Okay, Ashley, thank you for doing this and good to meet you.
It's great to meet you too, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
So, 2011 graduate, now 10 years removed from Framingham State. So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. So I am in North Carolina now, and I am working for a company called Nation Builder, which is a software that supports nonprofit organizations, advocacy groups, campaigns, pretty much, any kind of group of people that want to rally around something. We're a software as a service company, and my role as enterprise account manager is to work with a handful of our customers and just make sure they're super happy with the product, that they're leveraging all of the options that are available to them, and helping them kind of strategize and how to use the tool the best.
Nice. And how are you adjusting to the pandemic?
Uh, it's funny. I was in a different role
Yeah.
before I started at Nation Builder during the pandemic, and so kind of gave me an opportunity to kind of reassess sort of my career and what I wanted to do. And I think for a lot of people, it gave folks the ability to kind of see, like, where are you working, who are you working for, how are they treating their employees, kind of what their real priorities are. And I think for a lot of my friends and my colleagues and my classmates that I've talked to, people kind of got a sense of, I'm not just a number. I feel really supported and taken care of. And then there's the opposite, right? You had
Yeah.
companies that didn't do that. So it kind of gave me an opportunity to really kind of take a step back and assess, how I wanted, as dramatic as it sounds, how I wanted to kind of live out the rest of my life, and see, um, what I could possibly do to kind of build the life I wanted, if
Yep.
that makes sense. I know it sounds so trite to say it, but it was definitely an opportunity of, like, okay, I these are the things I want. How do I find them and get them? And working towards that. So it's been a bumpy year for a lot of reasons, but I feel like all for good, all for good things.
I
Like it,
agree.
the
Yeah.
you know, um,
Yep.
yeah,
You have to have some adversity. You have to deal with it. And
totally.
I think you can either go one way or another. And nothing was going to change. We were still going to be shut
Nope.
down. So what do you do? And it wasn't
Yeah.
easy for everybody, but I think some people like yourself were able to have a positive attitude about it.
Yeah,
Get
I
through
mean,
it.
I figured it was an opportunity to kind of take a step back, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't surrounded by distractions anymore. My life was very much like wake up, go to work on the computer, change a room, go to bed kind of thing. Like there wasn't really much else happening. And I think once that happens in your life and you can remove all of those external distractions or things that, keep you busy, you are forced to face the music a little bit and are forced to kind of assess that. And so I think for a lot of people, it gave them that opportunity to decide, do I like what I do? Do I not like what I do? Am I happy where I live? Am I happy where, kind of all of those things that come into play when you're kind of making those judgment calls. But usually you've got other stuff going on that affects your ability to kind of make that decision, or kind of decide those things. And so there wasn't any of that going on. It was just
Yeah.
me and my brain every day, waking up being like, okay, how's today going to go? How am I going to feel about this? And I agree with you. Like, adversity is definitely, we all have to go through it. And it is something that, in order to enjoy kind of the mountaintop, you've got to do the climb and you've got to hit
Yeah.
the valleys. And so it's been a weird year, but I feel like all for good things. Like I feel like I'm heading in the right direction now.
All right. So speaking of decisions, you made a good one when you went to Framingham State. So tell us about
I
how
did.
that all, happen for you.
So I'm a little bit of a wacky subject in this regard, because Framingham was the fourth college that I went to.
Wow.
So yeah, so I started at Arizona State in Tempe, Arizona. I spent one semester there, did not like it. I then transferred to the University of New Hampshire, spent one semester there, did not like it. Um, And at this point, I had spent a lot of money on college. And so I took a year to just kind of crank out some classes in community college. I'm originally from Haverhill, Mass.
Yeah.
So Northern Essex was right down the street, literally from my parents' house. And I spent 2 semesters at Northern Essex. And I had an advisor who was amazing, but basically was like, you need to go get your bachelor's, like you need to transfer and go somewhere. And I gave her a list of things that I wanted. I wanted a small school. I wanted, certain classes. There was a whole, list of things. And I wanted it to be within an hour's drive of my parents' house. So if I, wanted to go home, I could. And a week later, she came back and Framingham was the only school that fit kind of all of that criteria. So I applied sight unseen
Hmm.
and got accepted and literally drove through the campus on a rainy day. I never saw the inside of a building. I never saw the inside of the dorms. Literally just drove through and then called and submitted my deposit check and was like, okay, guess that's what I'm doing at this point. So I technically started as a junior.
Okay.
So I was, still on track in terms of graduation, but I had literally no idea what I was walking into when I started. And I just fell in love with the campus, fell in love with the teachers, fell in love with, the whole vibe. And it just was the right choice for me at that time.
Yeah. I love these stories because I hear the same. There's something about the campus. I don't know if it's the way it's
Mhm,
designed, being up in the hill. There's a lot of,
mhm.
we're in an actual house, but there is a lot of charm that you can't just build, that
Right.
it's built up, so to speak, from years being there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. What I really loved about the campus was how insular it felt, and the footprint was manageable, right? Like you
Sure.
didn't spend 2 hours walking across campus to go to class. Although going up and down that hill definitely was a workout.
Yeah.
But I just loved that everything was so accessible. If I had a friend that was in, the cafeteria and like texted me and said, hey, let's grab lunch, I was there in, 5 minutes kind of thing. And I also just really liked that um, a lot of the folks that were in my classes were also people who were commuters, or folks who were, coming back to school later in life than they had anticipated or changing careers. And a lot of folks who worked multiple jobs like I did. I had a work study and I had a part-time job. So I felt like in terms of my classmates and the environment and the people, I was around a lot of folks that were like me, first generation college students, people who are working their way through college, people who are trying to juggle a class schedule, an
Yeah.
activity plus a social life plus multiple jobs kind of thing, and trying to make it all work. And so I felt like it was a really welcoming place. Whereas I think with other schools, at least in my experience, there weren't a lot of, I didn't have a lot of peers that were going through that kind of similar experience, and that made it hard.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, that ability to connect with people who were came from a similar place that I did, and also were making their way through their college years in a similar way.
And you've connected with Felicia, who's in our office, right? So you have a
I love
connection with
her.
yeah, she's the best.
She's the best. She's the best. Felicia actually reached out to me, and just introduced herself. And, we had similar things in common. I had spent a couple of years working in alumni relations for some other schools. And so, uh, I kind of know how the game is played a little bit. I kind of know, what's
Yeah.
behind the curtain. And so we could bond and connect over that. And she happened to be coming to North Carolina to do some meetings. I happened to be flying out to visit a friend in California. So the first time we met, we literally had dinner at the airport, like
Wow.
inside the terminal. Because I was like, I'm heading out, you're heading out on a flight. Our flights are on the same time. This just works out. Let's grab dinner. And yeah, I mean, she's just such a gift to
Yeah.
that whole team, to your team.
Yep.
And I'm just so grateful that she reached out.
It's cool to see the inside of, I'm an alum, but you never know what's going on. You as well. Now you
Yeah.
you see it, and it's pretty amazing and fascinating how great people they are too. And that's such a
Yeah.
the whole team, our team, but the whole team being Framingham State. And it sounds like in
Mhm.
your experience that you had a great team that you were on back in 2011 when you graduated.
I did. I did. I had amazing professors, and I think the thing that I loved the most about Framingham, that I was worried when I left Northern Essex. One of the criteria that I gave my advisor was that I wanted I wanted to learn from people who were actually doing the thing that I was studying.
Sure.
I had been in classes in other institutions where, the person who was teaching me this subject had never actually done that as a job. That wasn't a career. They kind of were just a lifelong educator. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But for me, it was really important that I had the opportunity to learn from people who I could go to and say, here's this situation, or here's this thing I'm stumbling across. And they could give me real life examples of what they did in that environment. The other thing I really appreciated about, especially my department at the time in communications, was that we were all required to do an internship.
Yes.
And I I think that is one of the most invaluable opportunities. I don't know about other departments now at Framingham State, but I would say, uh, that is huge to require that as part of your graduation, to say you need to go and do an internship, because number one, forces you to do it, but number two, it gives you that real life experience. And there nothing nothing you learn in the classroom can prepare you for a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So I just felt like the communications department was doing it right across the board. The class sizes were manageable. I knew everybody in almost every single one of my classes. I was super hands-on. My professors were, totally reachable. I could talk to them at any point in time. And between my advisors, the professors, the staff, everybody was just real. Like, they were
Yeah.
real, genuine people. And there wasn't that sense of, um, I don't want to say not unprofessional, but like they just treated you like a human. They didn't treat you like a student or a child, or, um, they treated you like another human being. And I just loved that. And I think that that's really rare. As I say this, having it been my fourth college that I went to, it felt really rare.
Well, I'm glad that that was the last one you went to, right?
Me too. I tell people all the time that I think if I had gone to Framingham straight out of high school, I don't know if I would have had the same experience. And I don't necessarily know if I would have loved it in the same way, but I'm glad that I landed there when I did. And I'm glad that, I had the experience that I had, because I ended my college career on a high note.
Perfect. That's a great ending right there. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely.